Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between, welcome to another episode of the CHAPS Chat Cats, a part of the Hoops Crew Media Network. My name is Jake, and I'm joined in the virtual studio on Monday night. You'll be listening to this not on a Monday night. I am joined in the past, but in your present and someone else's future, by the one and only Mr. Johnny Larkin. How are you, John Doe? Bit esoteric.
Yeah, just a bit. Feeling good. I'm good. Doing well. Enjoyed the weekend. Well, the 2 days away down at the game, and then off to Ballarat for Memorial, which was overall a very good weekend. Especially the football, which we're here to chat about. How are you?
Absolutely. I'm very good. Very, very good. Looking forward to chatting some cats with you, Johnny. On the episode tonight, we will probably be joined at some point by Sambo. We're not sure. He said he'll try and join midway
Possibly.
through if he can. But on the episode tonight, we know we're going to be talking about the Cats defeating the Dees in round 4. We're going to talk. Then we're going to go to Patreon. We're going to talk a bit of news. Now, Sambo's not here potentially to wrap up the Chris Scott presser. We can have a chat about Jack Henry's injury update, but we could also maybe take a look back at the first month of the season for the Cats. So that might be what we do at the start of the Patreon show. Then we're going to move into our round 5 preview as we look forward to Cats v Crows in Gather Round. Brought to you by your humble corporate league sponsors. Yes, so that is on the show tonight. Johnny, let's jump in. But before we do, we have to say a big thank you and have a quick word from our sponsors. The Hoops Crew Media Network is proudly sponsored by Cyril Cook Florist. Visit them at shop 1211 Leather Street in Breakwater. Phone them on 035 222 2244 or visit their website at www.cyrilcookflorist.com.au and use the offer code GOCATS in the voucher field at checkout to get 20% off your next online purchase. Yes, a big thank you to our media network sponsor, Cyril Cook. A big thank you to you, the listeners and viewers who have gone ahead and used that offer code already. Hope more of you take advantage of that, our partnership on the Hoops Crew with Cyril Cook Florist. All right, Johnny, we've got to jump into the episode. We're going to talk all about Cats and Demons. And first off, a big shout out, I believe it was to Aiden, Zach, and Owen, who came up to us after the game and said, "Are you guys part of the Hoops Crew?" And we said, "Yes, we are," and had a lovely chat with Aiden and his mates. I think it was Zach's first game of footy. I think Owen was
Demon,
he was an Essendon supporter. And an Essendon supporter, but at a Cats game. Thanks for coming and saying good day, gents. It was lovely to have a chat with you, and hope you enjoy the podcast tonight. If you are listening, all right, let's dive. I hope so.
They seem to say they listen to every episode. So hello again, Aiden, Zach, and
that's
Owen.
Right.
It's good to meet you.
Absolutely,
photo as well.
Absolute, an absolute ripper of a hat that Owen was wearing as well. I don't know what you describe those ones at. They're sort of like
what you might Russian style hat, like
with the flaps over the ears and stuff. It was very good,
very warm looking.
All right. It was a bit nippy, actually, down at Cardinia Park. But anyway, speaking of Cardinia Park, let's jump into the game, Johnny. Wow. We're back on the winners list. And I'm here to recap it for you if you were somehow living under a rock on Friday night. And then I'm going to throw to Johnny for his initial thoughts. So Friday night, Johnny, it proved to be a unique turning point opportunity for AFL Media Narratives, TM, moving forward in the season, as a loss for the Cats would mean former jocks turned talking heads could turn their doomsday clocks to fraud watch, and a loss for the Demons would open the door for wacky trade speculation and a thick supply of on-air promotion of potential Dees coaches for 2026 from former players and media buddies. Somebody pinch me. Speaking of hammy media narratives, late change alert, but this time Chris Scott's hand was forced by Mark Blixarves having an illness, meaning Geelong's coaching staff had to trek deep into Reece Stanley's Gothic mansion, break open his sarcophagus, sacrifice a lamb, and reanimate the creaking ruckman into life. Be back before sunrise, or he'll turn to dust, croaked the old crone who guards the gates. A man who looked suspiciously like Christian Petrarca goaled early for the D's, but it was the Cats who took control thereafter, exercising extreme patience as they flicked the ball around by foot, at times to the frustration of the fans, and proceeded to boot the next 5 majors of the game, leading by 30 points early in the second term. From there, it was arm wrestle time as Melbourne kicked 4 of the next 5 goals to have the margin teetering at a nervy 10 points just 7 minutes into the third term. That, Johnny, was as close as they got. As the hooped anaconda of Geelong's altered game style began to strangle the life out of their team, Dees fans dwindled into the car park. The Cats kicked 6 of the game's final 7 goals with the siren blowing early on just a 26-minute final term. Perched in the Joel Selwood stand, Johnny, I thought this match at times felt like watching a cosplay fan film of a Melbourne Demons football team. Sure, that man wearing number 13 has the same Cabbage Patch doll turned slasher film villain look of Clayton Oliver, and he racked up 30 touches and a game-high 9 clearances. Of course, the bloke with the angry jawline in the number 1 Guernsey looked like Stephen May and did grab a team-high 10 marks, and yes, the fake beard attached to the towering ruckman did for a moment fool me into thinking this was the Max Gawn Melbourne Demons, but something in the red and blue felt flagrantly awry. Geelong, just the latest team to take a scalpel and carve off a little chunk of what remains of that team's 2021 legacy. The Catters 12-13-85 to the Demons 6-10-46. Stadium food has improved. Beer is grossly expensive. But Johnny, your thoughts on the game?
It was fun, I would say. A bit frustrating at times the way the Cats sort of moved the ball, but it was a very purposeful way they went about this game. They knew they couldn't just kick it long down the line all the time because there's that big bold galoot, big beard that's just going to take easy marks throughout the night. And he did do it throughout the game, was able to take some uncontested marks from long kicks, but the Cats were very deliberate in how they went about it, which was a lot of switching back and forth, just trying to wear him out and not kick it in his direction, which they did very well. So it wasn't a fast pace, go at all guns game throughout the entire affair. There were moments where the Cats did do that and they looked really good. But most of the time they were pretty happy just to control and take the ball out of the Demons' hands. And I heard that they had the ball 15 minutes longer than the D's handled the ball. So that's massive difference. And it really did show in the end. Like, was it 49-point victory in the end or 39-point victory in the end?
39, yep.
I thought it was just one of those ones. They knew what they needed to do. They went out and they did it. No one did really anything too flashy unless it was just in those spur of the moments, like Ted Closey's 100 mark, Jack Bowes' goal. It's really classy. 2 goals, I believe, for Jack Bowes. And Dangerfield
2 for Jack Bowes.
was Dangerfield. So yeah, it was a very controlled, very purposeful victory. They just had to go out and get it done, and they did. And unfortunately, couldn't get away from the night 100% fit with Jack Henry going off with the injury, unfortunately. But to get the 4 points, a nice 4 points, put Melbourne back down the bottom of the ladder, send them into a bit more of a frenzy, get us back in the top 8. Yeah, it was just a very well orchestrated win. And on to next week. Yeah, and a good way to celebrate 100 years partnership with the Ford.
Tick the old sponsors box. Yeah, Johnny. Like I think you obviously went back and rewatched the
I
game
did.
because you're an absolute raging professional. Um, from the TV broadcast on the night, I found myself frustrated at times. It felt a little bit like watching the Cats of more that sort of 2021 era where it was this methodical, slow ball movement. But you definitely said that when you went back and watched on TV, like it did become more and more. It was even more obvious on TV, I suppose, that
Yeah.
they were trying to play around Melbourne's tools. And I guess too, another thing that came to mind, was that it was a relatively, I would have said, lower clearance game. Maybe I think it was 32 each, 64
Yeah.
total clearances. I don't know how that stacks up, but um, it was Geelong. We had, if you look at the whole game, we had 50% of the possession in the game across the whole thing. Melbourne had 33%, meaning 17% of the time it was in, contest or not in clean possession of anyone. So for Geelong to have that plus 17% possession advantage, yeah, in the last quarter, Geelong had the ball 60% of the time to Melbourne's 29%. To put some stats to it for people, 281 kicks for the Cats was up 47 on their 2025 average, 266 uncontested possessions, plus 64 on our average this season, 165 marks. That was plus 56.7 on this season, 148 uncontested marks, which I think I read was the highest total by a Cats team in recorded history. Tackles laid, we had 57. That's 17 and a half less than our season average. It was frustrating at times to watch us chip the ball around the back half, but obviously, Johnny, it was effective. It sort of seemed to be a horses for courses scenario to avoid those to avoid the Demons' strengths in players like May and Gawn. And, we still managed a scoring shot every 16 and a half disposals, which
Mm.
felt pretty good. We still we were highly efficient actually going inside 50. If you look at the efficiency inside 50, 61.2% for the Cats compared to 32% for Melbourne. So I suppose sometimes it's nice to say that it's about the journey. But perhaps on Friday night, it was more about the destination being let's get 4 points. Who gives a shit what it looks like? Let's get an important 4 points to get us back to level pegging. Reece Stanley, though, Johnny, resurrected, as
Yes.
I said, from his sarcophagus, came in and did a massive job for the Cats without Blixups. 23 hitouts, 11 to advantage, which was the same amount that Gawn had. 5 marks, 3 tackles, 8 score involvements, 4 spoils, and a goal. What did you think of him and then the flow-on effect for Sam De Koning?
I thought it was an extremely impressive game by Reece Stanley to come in for his first game in a pretty big match in terms of both our teams' seasons, and he performed beyond expectations. Like, yeah, as you said, to get the same amount of hit out to advantages as Gorn is massive. To kick a goal and Gorn is also massive. Like, that was a really
Mm.
nice, clean mark that he took, went back, nailed it. So, yeah, I think an outstanding game by the walking crypt. I think we have to. I think, especially now that Jack Henry's out, I just can't see a way that we keeps STK out of that defense. He was pretty outstanding defensively, especially in that first quarter. That there was some massive spoils in front of us that he was able to just do effortlessly. Like, it was back to his 2022 style, not letting anyone beat him one on one. So,
Mm.
especially against Adelaide with their tools, I think we just got to roll Reece Stanley again, and hopefully Brix is back so that will lighten his load even more, and won't have to have STK in there as much. He can just focus on defending. Yeah, I know they're still
Mm.
going to persist with STK into a ruck. But my personal opinion is if Henry's not there, we need STK back in that defence just to fill that hole. Because we don't have. We've got defenders, but I don't think we have defenders on SDK's level of one-on-one performance. Like Jack Henry can, but I don't think there's many who'll be able to keep up what these two guys do in defence. So, Bruce Stanley in the ruck saved, not saved, but gave SDK that confidence again in the defence, and he looked imperious. Like he looked unbeatable in that forward line. Took on basically everything. There was just one moment where he sort of got tangled up a bit with Fritsch, and I think it was Langdon got a snap on goal, which he could have nearly got across to, but just kind of forgive him for that minor error. But apart from that, STK was great. Reece Stanley was great. And the other guys in the ruck did a fairly decent job against Max Gawn. So I'm looking forward to seeing Reece Stanley back. It's good to have him back. And I think he's put the case forward again as why he should be considered the Cats' number one ruck. Because he can take it up to these big guys. And he can beat them. And I thought he did. I thought he did beat Max Gawn on the weekend.
I thought he certainly had his moments. Like if you were scoring it as a fight, like I definitely think there were passages of the game that you would score his way. I don't know, if you just isolated the whole one-on-one duel, but he had a lot of really impactful moments. Obviously the goal he kicked, which was from a nice mark that he took. There were a lot of nice marks he took. I think you're right, Johnny. Like in terms of, he did the job. He did what we needed him to do. I think that you're right. If Jack Henry's out, Sam de Koning is a must play down back. Even if Blixarves comes into the side, I think I'd prefer. I think right now to roll with Reece Stanley, in the ruck with Mark Blixarves to give him a chop out sort of thing, and you put Sam de Koning, playing all his time down back. I was really wrong about Reece Stanley. I said I was wrong in terms of this week, particularly. Now, I don't think he can hold up playing every game of the season. I think you'd probably get
Definitely not.
6 to 12 games out of him this season or something. Something in that range. The range of I don't know, maybe 12 to 15 even if you push it. But I thought watching him in the VFL, I said, look, he plays well. He towed up the Northern Bull Ants last week. But, what sort of context does that really give you for beating AFL quality opposition? I probably wouldn't put him up there, but got an opportunity with the Blixarves injury, comes in, does the job. This goes back to what we say every week, Johnny. It feels like that, winning games and being there at the pointy end has less to do with your best 23 and more to do with your best 35 or 40 players, because it means when you drop down, when, Jack Henry goes out in the middle of the game, when Blixarves goes out, you call up Stanley, a premiership ruckman, maybe, in the twilight of his absolute twilight, but still comes in and does the job. When Henry goes out, you bring Mark O'Connor in, and Mark O'Connor played really well. So they're these players that you have on the list that everyone goes, oh, I thought we should have moved on from Mark O'Connor. We've got me going, oh, I wouldn't play Reece Stanley in the VFL. They come in and do a job. They come in and they have no ego about them, and they do a job for the Cats. Sam de Koning that's as good as we've seen him play maybe in the last 2 seasons, I would have said.
Yeah, absolutely. He was great. He was terrific, really. As I said, he barely got beaten in the forward line. The only time he got beaten was because he was, I think, trying to avoid Fritsch, or he just, I don't know. I thought live it looked like he may have got sort of tangled up in his feet, but I think it was just he just got himself in a little bit of a bind in body weight and how he was sort of leaning forward and running just a bit gangly. But apart from that, I thought he was probably one of our best defenders on the night. apart from a certain other young number 14 player.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely up there as one of their better ones and one that saved quite a few goals, I reckon. And yes, I've said, as you just said, keep Reece Stanley in for the next few weeks until Jack Henry comes out. As I said to Sam on our way back home on Saturday, we're talking about the Reece Stanley STK thing, and it was just like, how about we just get Reece Stanley in, do half a quarter, go off for the rest of the quarter, and then come back on, do half a quarter, because that's all we need him to do, really. Like, you could tell when he was off, Max Gorn got the ascendancy, Melbourne sort of got the ascendancy. And when he was back on, it was
Yeah.
back on level pegging. So, yeah, he makes a big difference. And as I'll say it again, while Jack Henry's out, I don't think we persevere with STK and Iraq just yet until we can get him back, just to make us a bit more secure in that defensive area, especially against Adelaide.
Yeah.
Like, their forward line is extremely potent at the moment, so we need all the big guys who know how to defend one-on-one back in our defence.
Mm.
Plus,
Yeah.
Reece Stanley
No,
can
agree there.
run back in defence after the rucking contest. He's athletic still.
Well, yeah, there's a number of little things that he can do for us, and yeah, until like I think once if the ruck room was healthy, I think Toby Conway's playing, and
Yep.
Reece is playing. If Toby Conway didn't have injury issues and Mitch Edwards didn't have injury issues and stuff, Reece Stanley might be retired by now, but he's
Yeah,
stuck around, and it's credit.
he's probably cursing
I think he'd
those
prefer to be on
guys
the
for
farm.
getting injuries. He's like, just want to retire. I want to go to my farm and look after my cows
Let
and
me
sheep or
rest.
whatever he's got.
I want to go back to the
But
crypt. All right.
yeah, good on him for
So
pushing through, because I thought he was done like
absolutely good
two
on him.
years ago.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think we thought, oh, he'll retire at the end of 2023. No, he'll stick around. He'll do 2024. Oh, he'll stick around and do 2025. Who knows? He might be getting another deal to go on in 2026, Johnny. We just don't know yet.
Exactly. You
Um,
never know.
so from the ruck, I wanted to talk a little bit too. Just noticed sort of in doing the notes, and I didn't know if this meant anything to you having watched the game twice and whether it sort of, matched up with anything you saw. But there was a really even spread of clearances for Geelong. The Cats, they got clearances out of Smith and Dempsey, who had 5 each. Sean
Mhm.
Manor had 4, 3 each to Holmes and Danger, 2 for Myers, DeConing and Bowes, and then singles to Stanley, O'Sullivan, Guthrie, Closey, Cameron and Atkins. So in all, 14 different Cats won clearances on Friday night compared to 9 Melbourne players. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like Geelong just had a big range of players who were able to extract the footy at different points.
Yeah, it was quite surprising to see that stat, and really pretty a good little handy addition up our sleeves that all these players can get
Mm,
clearances. And it wasn't just one player dominating the clearances. It was a very even good
mm.
spread, especially that BFL player that you may have said wasn't ready to. Hey, sometimes you make a call, you get it wrong, it happens. But I tell you what, it's if you make a call about a player and you get proven wrong, it's only positives. Absolutely. And Sean Manor definitely backed up his VFL, so you can't be disappointed in that. Yeah,
No.
like, I thought all that midfield against Melbourne's highly rated midfield were extraordinary, and it was really good to see that we just didn't rely on Smith and Danger. We
Mm,
just rattled off. We had Sean Manor, Dempsey, Holmes, Myers, DeConing was even getting clearances. Like, yeah, it was a really good spread, and you can really tell that they just don't say this is a midfield group. You guys play midfield. This is a defense. You play defense. Sort of got that revolving idea of if a player's suited to play in the midfield or defense, let's roll them through there or get them up a bit further up the ground. And getting involved a bit more, and it's just going to get everyone a bit more ball time, get them a bit more confident in their skills, especially the young guys. And Smith's coming off the ACL. He's starting to really look better. Like he's not doing anything
Mm.
extraordinary, anything special, anything that you're going to go, oh, I want to watch the highlights for Smith's game. But as I said, we don't need him for that. We just need him doing what he's doing at the moment. And the
Mm.
special stuff will emerge over time. And then when he does start doing the special stuff, he'll be even better. And he'll be even a better player working his way in there. Because to be fair, I think the Cats have
Mm.
got plenty of players that can do some special things. And Closey is one of those players. Like he's been great. One player you have talked up big time, Closey, and you
Mm.
don't get many calls wrong. I think you've made Mana call. That was
I
probably the
think I
first
do.
call
But
you
that's
got
all right.
wrong. But every other player that you said ready to play AFL, they've come in and they've stayed in.
I think Closey is one where I think I've always felt like he is a better chance to make it at AFL level than Jai Clark. That's not saying I don't like Jai Clark, but I guess I look at Ted Closey and see what he can offer. Like, and I thought you saw it, on the
Yeah.
other night, and you've seen it when he's played this season. In that, he can go into the forward 50. He can play in the attacking half. He can be a bit of a pressure player. He's not super fast, but he's extremely violent the way he plays and tackles and applies pressure. He's crafty around goal, not just for himself, but to bring other players into the game. And you can put him on the ball at times. He's obviously got to work on his fitness base, but this is only the start of year 3, I think, and Geelong do like to bring these sort of slow burn prospects through. The one we always talk about is Zach Guthrie, that, took him a long time to put all the pieces together. And I just think you've seen, I don't think Ted Closey is currently undroppable. Like I wouldn't look at him and, like some of the youngsters are. There's one very tall youngster who we might talk about who may have played himself into basically being an undroppable player moving forward. It will be very interesting to see. I don't think Closey's in that range, but what he has done is shown you moments of like, oh, the things he does well can translate. But now it's like, can he be fit enough? Can he have that fitness base, to go and go and go all game? Can he keep adding strings to his bow and make that next jump? And I think if he does, it's going to be really exciting. On Sean Manor, yeah, like I legitimately thought watching the VFL last week, I thought there was not a hope in hell that they would play him. He looked, it's not like unfit. He just looked stony legged. It was like he had ankle weights on running around in the VFL. And like I said to people, like, yeah, I know he kicked 3 goals, but it's like, it's the Northern Bullants. It's the VFL. Like I would expect Sean Manor to roll out of bed and play really good VFL footy. I don't think they'll play him. They did play him and he looked good. Like, I still don't think he looks as zippy as he did last year, but can't fault the impact he had. 18 touches, a goal. Was it 5 tackles, 4 clearances or something like that?
Yeah.
He was very, very good. I think he might have even had a goal assist as well. So no, he just reminded you of like, oh yeah, he's such a good player to have in this
Yeah.
side. I wanted to ask you, Johnny,
Absolutely.
specifically about the player growth and development of and I guess the performances on the night. We've talked about Ted Closey. We've talked a lot about Connor O'Sullivan, but Lawson Humphreys, and then O'Sheen Mullen. Like, first off, Lawson Humphreys, I don't think he's in my best Geelong players, but I thought he was
No.
Geelong's most consistent player. I really didn't see him have a down quarter. And he's almost becoming a non-story with how consistent he is. And then O'Sheen Mullen followed up a really good game against the Lions with another really reliable effort against the Dees. What were your thoughts on those players, Johnny, who continue? I mean, Lawson Humphreys just continues to provide what he did last year, and O'Sheen
Yeah.
maybe starting to show what he is.
Lawson Humphries is becoming one of those players that you sort of forget about. He's just become that consistent, that reliable, that you just go, oh yeah, Lawson's got it. He's going to do the right thing. And he does it every single time.
Yeah.
So it's like Tom Stewart. Like I said, I didn't think Tom Stewart was that impactful, but like did really good things. I just said, I bet if you re-watch it, you go, oh yeah, Tom Stewart had an absolutely brilliant game. And I went re-watched it, and I was like, oh yeah, Tom Stewart had a brilliant game again. And I think Lawson Humphries is going to become exactly the same. Just one of those players who's going to do amazing things, but they're not going to be noticed as much as another player doing amazing things, because I think he's just going to have such a high standard that when he has really amazing games, you're just going to go, oh, that was just a classic Lawson Humphries game. And this was it again. Just ultra consistent, didn't do anything. Well, I don't think did many special things, like great things, but it's just so natural to him that he's just does it every single week, and he's so consistent, undroppable now, absolutely, fast, composed with everything he does, understands the game plan perfectly. Like, he's just slotted in this team effortlessly, and I still laugh to think that he was playing a reserve team for like a local team that'll be around our area, and now he's like a ultra competitive, super reliable defender playing his 20th game or something. Like he's
somewhere in there. Yep.
Like super defendable, and he's learning from some of the best in the game, and that you can tell. But he was already highly skilled when he came into this team, and as I said, he's just gonna play games. You're not going to really notice him too much because of how consistent he will be. But he's going to be something else. Like, I think we're just starting to see the beginning of what he can become, and the Cats just know how to pick the right players below draft picks, because he's going to become an absolute superstar in that defense. Or most likely midfield.
It'd be really
like, I think he may get to that point where he's too good to just be a defender.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could definitely see something like that, because of like he is so good with the footy. Like that's probably what stuck out a bit, is that like it probably wasn't his best night using the footy. Like, he went at 75% kicking efficiency, which was sort of middle of the road on the Friday night for the Cats, and he had 6 turnovers, which was second behind Bailey Smith, who had 8. But you know, he still just has so much quality to what he does, and it's so rare to see him fuck up. Basically, I think that's what I would say about Lawson. There's all these times where you think, oh shit, they've really sold him into a bad position there. There's a bad handball or a bad kick, or it's bounced. He's dropped him. He's made a rare mistake and dropped the mark, and all of a sudden he's just found space again. He's just sort of stepped his way around a couple of opponents and delivered a nice kick. So yeah, he's crazy levels of calmness and consistency. But what about O'Sheen, Johnny? Because O'Sheen is such a player who's much maligned. Again, he's one I would say, I said at the start of the year, I thought he needed to play the first half of the season in the VFL. I think if there were certain other players healthy, he would be playing in the VFL. But, the Cats have stuck with him. He had a really rough start to his season, got those, goals kicked on him in the third quarter against Freo, had a real, a bit of a mare against the Saints, and then has rebounded with a couple of really good games. Like, the coaching group have stuck by him. We've always known this talent. He had 16 touches. He had 8 marks, 3 tackles. They're not numbers that will necessarily jump off the page at you. I was just trying to find 81% disposal efficiency. He won 2 free kicks, gave away just the one. It's something we used to look for with Rachel Kearns when she first started playing AFLW
Yep.
footy was the change between seasons where the split between frees given away and frees won changed, where now she almost never gives away free kicks, but earns a lot of them herself. Like, you're starting to see that balance change for O'Sheen. Did you like his game, and what did you notice about him?
I really did like his game. He was, yeah, he's starting to really find his feet. He's getting that consistent game time now. I think that's been really beneficial
Mm,
to him. And I think I agreed with you when you said he'd probably benefit from some time in the VFL. But it seems like he's benefiting just from maybe a bit more from more time in the AFL, and I think he's going to continue to get more time in the AFL. This week will be a big test to see how he will go against Adelaide. I think this
mm.
could be one of those make or break moments, parts of the season, where he might just go, oh, we'll drop you back for a couple of weeks maybe after this game, depending how he goes. But I think from Friday night's game, he's done enough to keep his spot. He's looking good. He's looking confident. He just needs to
100%.
get a few more handball receives coming back to him because it was that great run that he started
That's on
from
his
defence.
teammates, hey?
Yeah, like that was he started that chain and he kept running straight down the middle, and they could have handballed it back to him and could have passed it inside 50 or even had a shot at goal himself. That was like a tremendous run. Unfortunately,
Mm.
they didn't pass it to him. They kicked it in front of another player, but the Demons player got there first. So I don't think he's doing anything horrendously wrong. Like he made some
Mm.
mistakes, but like other players made similar mistakes, if not worse mistakes than what O'Sheen Mullen did. And I thought he was serviceable in defence. Like everything he did was well done. He got a free kick, which I, on live I didn't think was really there, but I don't think he gave away many. Yeah, I just think it was really good.
One, according to the
Another
game.
okay, oh, that's pretty good for a defender in this day and age.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was a really dependable game by him. And each week we just see another little snippet of what he is capable of. And yeah, he still gets a lot of hate. He still gets a lot of, oh, dropping him back to the VFL, blah blah blah. But I just, you
Get
know,
him off the list.
we all we all know, give players time to develop. If if we didn't give time to Zach Guthrie, he wouldn't be the player he is today. If you didn't give time to Reece Stanley, STK, all these other players that have become hugely dependable, we wouldn't be the club we are today. So
Mm.
I still think that we keep going with him until it either reaches a point where he thinks it's just not working or the team just doesn't think it's going to work. But at this stage, I think it's working well and he's just doing what he needs to do. And to be fair, I don't think we need him to do outstanding things. We don't need him to say kick the winning goal or lay a match
Mm.
winning tackle. But saying that, I think he would be able to lay a match winning tackle because he's fast and he's
Mm.
strong. He lays really good tackles. Not many players get through his tackles, um, and
Mm.
he's getting smarter. So yeah, I thought it was a really positive game from O'Sheen Mullen. We talked pretty highly of him during the game. We're frustrated when he didn't get that ball back to him when he was going straight through the middle with no one on him. Like it was, yeah. I think
That
once the
that
team gets more
passage.
confidence in him, if he can
Mm.
do that once or twice a game, he could set up goals, multiple goals. He's got that speed.
That passage of play really was a, like, he's beginning to believe moment
Yeah.
for me, because it was, he backed himself to dash away from multiple Melbourne players. He gave a hand pass out, dashed on, and almost, the way he dashed on, demanded it back, got it back in the middle of the ground, gave it off another time, dashed on expecting it, running towards
Yeah.
50, and didn't get it. And but it was that thing of like, that's the sort of stuff you would see him do in Gaelic football. Within, 5 or 10 seconds, he can make, a defensive effort into an attacking effort. He can be that line breaking attacking weapon off the back line. And it was just like one of the first times I saw him back himself. Like, oh no, I'm faster than these guys. I'm more explosive than these guys. And I'm going to get it back. And I'm going to get it back again. So I really thought that was big. And I think it's going to be interesting if we see more moments like that this season. Does that change, like you say, the way his teammates think about him now of like, oh shit, instead of, giving it out wide, let's give it back into the center to O'Sheen and let him, break everything up in the middle of the
Let him
ground,
cook.
because he is faster and more explosive than most of the people out there. Like, that is
Yes.
something that I think is really true that you can see of O'Sheen. It's never been that he's not strong enough, powerful enough, fast enough. He's got all of that in spades. It's, can he learn to use his body to play AFL footy? And I think he is starting to believe the last couple of weeks that, yes, I can do this. And really, maybe it is best if they just back him and he plays the majority of the games this year, Johnny, because it's the last year, as far as I'm aware, at least in the little websites I've found of his contract. So this is really like a see what we've actually got year for the Cats. So you play him in a bunch of games, you sink or swim, and either you say, thanks very much, we've appreciated all your efforts and what you've done, but we think we won't be moving forward. Or you go, yep, absolutely. He's taken enough steps in the time he's been here that let's extend it and see what happens in 2026 and 2027. And we believe he can grow. So I think it's a good situation. Maybe one more talking point, Johnny, before we get to votes.
Yes.
We can talk about this player a little bit more. Let's talk about both of them. I want to talk about Tom Atkins and I want to talk about Jeremy Cameron. So first off, let's go Cameron first. So I heard a Melbourne supporter behind us, I think it was a Melbourne supporter, saying Jeremy Cameron's not the player he was. If it was anyone else, he would have been dropped by now. I had to go and look at his stats because personally, I haven't been too fussed. I thought Cameron's played fine. So on the night, he racked up 22 touches at 72% efficiency, 4 free kicks. He gave away 1. Provided an equal game high 10 score involvements, took 7 marks, kicked 1 goal 2 on the night from 5 shots. But I don't know about you, Johnny. I think if his goal kicking was 2 goals 1 or 3 goals straight, we're maybe thinking he sneaks into the votes. Like, I don't have any concerns that like he's crumbling and he's at the end of the line. Like, we can pretty
Definitely
much boot
not.
that into the bin.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind he's still as potent as he was 2 years ago. Like, he's just having a bit of an off time in front of goal. Like, that's about it. But his other work around the ground is second to none. Like, he's still getting up and down that ground easy as possible. And he's still having massive impact. And yeah, who cares if he has a couple of poor nights? His experience in that forward line and around the ground is more valuable than the goals he's going to get because he can talk to Shannon Neal and Ollie Henry, Tyson Stengel, and all these other players in the midfield. Like, those couple of goals, shots at goal, he most likely would have kicked last year. But, I don't think he's too concerned at the moment about that. And it's a bit frustrating when he doesn't get him on the night. But overall, I'm not too concerned about his form. I know he can. I think we're pretty confident in saying that he's going to be able to find his kicking boots later on in the season. But yeah, there's no way he's done.
Like, it's sort of like this thing of like, oh, Cameron's not kicking like now. He is our equal leading goal kicker. He has 7 goals in 4 games, just like Patrick Dangerfield. And you said it, Johnny. Like, last season he might have kicked some of the goals he missed this week. He might kick them next week. That's the funny thing about
Exactly.
Jeremy Cameron. You know, you can have a game where he's like 2 goals, 4. Next week, he might turn around and kick 5 goals, 1 or 6 goals straight or something. Like, I just think that, you know, I think if he did kick 3 goals straight on the night, he's probably amongst our best players because the rest of him, like the rest of what he does, was really good. He had a goal
Yeah.
assist, you know, to go with his 1 goals 2. And yeah, you'd prefer him to kick 2 goals 1 or 3 goals straight, but it's not going to happen every night.
And
All right, so the last
there's no
one,
Hawkins.
yep,
So it's a new forward line. I
yep,
think that's the one big thing I think sticking out to me the most is they're still trying to work out how each other works. With Big Shannon Neal,
mm,
Ollie Henry, Jamie Cameron, and Tyson Stengel, like I think it was pretty clear and cut what the roles were when Hawkins was there. Like Hawkins is going
mm,
for it, you stay out of the way. Cameron's going for it, you stay out of the way. But I think it's a bit more of, and plus, no Hawkins. How many players would be going up against Jeremy Cameron? Like they're going, that's the most potent goal kicker. Let's single him out, getting him out of the way. And the other two are still pretty young, up and coming forward. So, you know, most times
mm.
he's probably going to have a player trying to block him going for the mark. So yeah, I think there's definite reasons why he may not be as potent, but that's only in the
Mm.
scoreboard. Everything else he's doing is still just as potent.
All right, last player, Johnny, that I want to talk about because he's definitely not in my votes. But that doesn't mean he's not playing great footy. Tom Atkins, I think we need to talk about him because he won't
That's
get talked about much on mainstream media, national media, etc. 17 disposals on the night at 82% efficiency, 0 turnovers, laid a game high 11 tackles. He's the first player to lay 10 or more tackles in every one of the first 4 games to start a season. He applied a game high 28 pressure act, also provided an equal game high 2 goal assists. Um, Tom Atkins is in career best form, right, Johnny?
By those numbers, yes, absolutely.
Mm,
And like he's stepped up. Now that Dangerfield's gone into that forward line to play mostly forward line, Atkins has really relishing and enjoying this time where he can step up and start asserting himself in that midfield. And I think he's just absolutely loving it. Like he's as you pointed out, 10 tackles in 4 games. Like that's just a player full of confidence, knows what his role is, knows what he can do for the team, knows he's a leader, like big leader of this club. And there's a few moments during the game that I was rewatching on the TV where he was at a contest and he was yelling at players, Cats players, where to go, where to watch, where to position themselves. And it wasn't just like, oh, you go there. It was like a very captain like yelling top of his
go
voice,
there.
going, you need to get over there now. So I think, yeah, he's absolutely relishing his new sort of leadership part, captain type thing in that midfield.
Mm.
I think the team's benefiting from it enormously. Like it's just freeing up Holmes to do a bit more, Smith to do what he does, because they're going, who's going to tackle this guy? Oh, Tom Atkins has got him. Tom Atkins this year, he's going to lay that tackle. So I think he's just, yeah, as I said, relishing playing football at the moment. He's loving it, and he's just having the time of his life, and everyone else is following in his path. And good on him. It's great to see. He's always been one of our favourites, and
Mm.
he continues just to perform and take another step in his career.
He's currently averaging this season 12 tackles per game. Also, uh, also 4 clearances per game. That
But
number dropped a bit on. He was averaging 5 clearances a game. Um,
like,
It's
that's
just he just
crazy.
doesn't get a lot. He doesn't get a lot of the footy, but he is impactful. Like
Yep.
he's only averaging. Actually averaging only 14 and a half disposals. That's his lowest. That's his lowest total since his second year of footy, where he only averaged 9. but his
Doesn't
tackles
feel
are
like it.
12 a game. His clearances are up there. His contested possessions are up there in terms of his own career. So, yeah, I think, Johnny, you look at he's got 745 career tackles. Could he get to 1,000? He's
Yes.
29. It's going to be close if he plays another couple of seasons. If he plays, 4 or 5 more seasons, if he plays till he's 34 or something, then yeah, he'll definitely clear
He'll get
1,000
there.
tackles, and that'd be pretty nice company. So yeah, very good. Just wanted to put a bit of love on Tom Atkins because he won't
Plus,
get the pop.
he set up Tyson Stingle's drop punt from the boundary line. He had an opportunity to bomb it inside 50, but he used his brains and passed a perfect pass to Stengel, who finished off his nice work. Yeah, he's just a smart
Yeah,
player. And as I said, loving
you know,
his football at the moment.
yeah, no, absolutely, he is indeed, and I think he doesn't get enough credit. Sometimes I
No,
think he actually does use the ball very intelligently. In those
absolutely.
going inside forward 50 situations. All right, let's do votes, and then we're going to go over to Patreon, finish off any talk we wanted to about this game. All right. I'll read out Sambo's first.
Yep.
We'll do his. Sambo this week went with 1 vote for Connor O'Sullivan. I think we've all got similar players. Well, let's all do our 1 vote then. Sambo's gone for Connor O'Sullivan with 1. I've gone for
Yep.
Connor O'Sullivan with 1. Who have you gone with for 1, Johnny?
I'll just get my votes up. Give me 30 seconds.
It's been a while. I mean, it's Colin. We've
Round
got you to do the
4.
sound effect.
Exactly. Thanks, Colin. I've gone with Oisin Mullen with 1 vote.
O'Sheen with 1. Nice. We talked about the reasons why, I suppose.
Yes.
I'm going to talk a bit about Connor O'Sullivan here on behalf of
Go
myself
for it.
and Sambo. Like he almost I found it really hard to do votes this week, and just to be transparent with the listener, I try and do my votes before I've looked at the stats. I try and just I watch first, and for me, it's like, who did I feel like? Who are the sort of 5 or 6 players I thought had the biggest impact? Who stood out to me as having moments in the game that really changed the outcome of a match? Who stood up whenever they were asked? Those crunch moments. Who are the ones who stood out? I try and lay out like 5 or 6 guys, get them in a rough order, and then I'll look at the stats and start picking through them that way. So a lot of it is around impact for me. And so that's why it's sort of like I didn't have Bailey Smith in my voting pool. I know people will probably think that's insane, and that's okay. You can. But I thought that there were other players who made a bigger impact, but maybe that's a bit hypocritical given that we've been asking for someone to have 25 plus touches a game and 5 clearances a game. But anyway, whatever the case, Connor O'Sullivan was very close to getting not just my 1 vote, but maybe my 2 or maybe my 3. I really did sort of shape it around for a little bit there. He ended up with the 1. He had 23 disposals, but he had 13 marks. Johnny did Connor O'Sullivan. When you go into the advanced stats, he had a team high 8 intercept possessions. He had a game high 3 contested marks. He went at 87% disposal efficiency. You go even more into further advanced stats. He faced 4 contested defensive one-on-ones, equal most of anyone on the ground. Zach Guthrie was the other one. He only lost 1 of those. He went at 92% kicking efficiency. He had just 1 turnover. This is a kid playing like is it his 5th? I think it's his 5th game because he only played 1 match last season. And he was an absolute pillar down back for us. So exciting what he's going to become.
Yeah.
So now we can flip into our 2 votes, and I think it's a good time to snake to you to tell us what your 2 vote is.
All right. My 2 votes is Connor O'Sullivan. And
Look at
the
that for timing.
exact reasons you just said. Yeah, exactly. Perfect timing. It's like you could read my votes. Yeah. All the
Yeah.
reasons you just said, like, that was like his first 4 games have been hugely impressive. Like, you can see why he's got the number 14 jumper. He's going to be an absolute superstar. Saying his early favourite for the Rising Star, which would be crazy, having 2 cats win the Rising Star back to
Back
back.
to back.
That would be unheard of.
Too old.
Too slow. But yeah, just an incredible player. Like, he's going to be an absolute superstar. And again, Cats just know how to pick these players, the players that we need at the right time. And they just fall in their laps.
He had as I said, 13 marks on the night. That takes him up to 32 for the season. So he was already averaging a pretty impressive 6.3 marks per game going into the night, but now up to 32. So he's averaging 8 marks per game. He'll be averaging around 15 touches per game as well. So I think, Johnny, that we are seeing a player making himself almost undroppable. Almost. I'll be very, very interested to see what the mix is like if and when Jake Kolodjasny is healthy. I mean, Kolodjasny's a fucking brilliant premiership defender. It's just going to be really interesting to see what the balance is. Like, obviously, you know, if Kolodjasny was coming back in this week, you would still play O'Sullivan because you got Henry out. But he's looking to be. For me, I watched all of his games last year in the VFL. Was really impressed. Thought he was as advertised, but he's ahead of schedule, in my opinion, in 2025. Like, he's playing above where I thought he would be, particularly like the contested marks thing. I thought, oh, shit, he might still struggle in those situations, but he's doing very well. Where else did we go? Where are we? My 2 votes. My 2 votes went to Zach Guthrie.
Nice.
Zach Guthrie, I thought, was excellent. He had a couple of quarters there where seemed like he was like teleporting or something. He was at one end of the ground and then he was at the other end of the ground and he was smothering and he was marking and he was like, he just went into like some sort of insane overdrive. I think it might have been in the second quarter where it was just demanding the ball everywhere from everyone. So his stat line in the end, what do you have? 7 intercept possessions, went at 76% disposal efficiency. He had 30 disposals, which was equal game high. He had a massive 17 marks, laid 4 tackles. He had a bit of up and down ride at times. He also had 5 turnovers in the game, but I think it's probably too easy to focus on those moments and go, oh, but he had those. I thought he was excellent. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. So he was my 2 votes, which I believe takes us to our 3 votes. I will pivot off that and say that Zach Guthrie was Sam's 3 vote player. So best on ground for Sambo was Zach Guthrie. Where are you going with your 3, Johnny?
I'm going to Patrick Dangerfield P. Daddy for my 3 votes. Like, that was an impressive game by Patrick Dangerfield. The 3 goals, could have had 5 goals, but just missed a couple. Well, could have nearly had 6 goals if he got that kick, that free kick on, was it halftime siren? Bit more flash.
Yeah.
But yeah, 3 goals to 20 disposals. Let me just bring the other one. Let me find him. Sorry. God. No, yeah, it was just a really impressive game by Patrick Dangerfield, and it's really good that we don't need him in the 60% disposal efficiency. Yeah, it's really great to see him not being needed all the time in that midfield. that he can go in the forward line, extend his career a bit more, kick goals, be dangerous. He hasn't lost any of his power, his strength, his speed, but just getting him in that midfield, that forward line is one, helping the midfield, giving, as we said, Tom Atkins free reign to be like a default leader in the midfield, give Max Holmes, Bailey Smith the chance, give all these young guys and newcomers to the team their opportunity to take on the midfield leader role and stamp their authority. And we get a player that is strong, extremely capable overhead, skull kicking, bit to be desired at times, but not on this weekend. He was obviously more accurate than he was inaccurate on the weekend. But it just, it was just a captain's game. Led from the front, from the start to the end. And he let the other players do what they needed to do, and he did what he needed to do at the right times. So, yeah, an absolutely pretty flawless game by Patrick Dangerfield.
Yeah, I was just, again, when you're trying to think of, like, these votes are so hard to do. They are so hard to do particularly when
473 meters gained too. Sorry.
It's all right. When you're trying to work out who your best players are from a win, it can be even harder. Just came across a surprising stat here. Shannon Neal, 5 marks inside 50 to lead the game. That's pretty good. But Patrick Dangerfield had the second most marks inside 50. And that was one of the big things that made him my 3 vote getter as well, Johnny, was that he didn't just kick 3 goals too. He had 20 disposals. He had 6 marks. He had 3 clearances, ton of meters gained. And I felt that he was a focal point up forward that was really valuable at key times. He seemed to try, he seemed to be providing things. Yes, he went at 50% goal kicking accuracy. He had 6 shots. He kicked 3 goals, but I don't know. It's 3 goals in a scrappy win that were really important. And it's moments where he burrowed in and applied some pressure or where he won a clearance. I just think he's super important. And let's face it, like in the past saying, we're going to move this guy into the, forward 50. In other eras of footy, that might mean he never gets, near being on ball or further, into the midfield. Like that's just not the case anymore. Players roam all over the place. You've got Jeremy Cameron playing in the wing. You got Jeremy Cameron taking intercepting marks down back. Like just because Dangerfield is going to primarily line up as a forward most of the time doesn't mean you can't roll him in the midfield when you want. Doesn't mean you can't put him on stoppages in the center when you want. We saw that last year with Stewart when they were trying to break his tag. He starts in the middle, then works his way back. I just thought it was a massive game from Danger, a really important one. He stood up, he kicked 3 goals too. He impacted the game in other areas as well. And yeah, for that, I think if you compared it to Dangerfield playing primarily mid, of course, that's not a vote-getting performance. But it's something I've been thinking a lot about, Johnny, this year, is it's like you can't just stat count. You can't just give votes to every player that gets 34 touches every week. Like, yes, maybe if they do it every week and they're effective at using it. But again, if you're playing as a primary like stoppage midfielder, of course you're going to rack up a heap of disposals. Of course you're going to rack up a heap of clearances. We have to honor the players at other positions, and Dangerfield as a forward was really, really good on the weekend. And Connor O'Sullivan as a defender and Zach Guthrie as a defender, they played their roles exceptionally. That'll do. That's our votes.
That will do. That's it.
We've all done our best votes. That's your blooming lot.
That's a lot.
Big thank you to everyone for watching, for listening. We're going to duck over now to the Patreon part of the show and deliver some more thoughts there. We'll talk a little bit about the Jack Henry injury update, and then we'll get into previewing Cats v Crows. So, yes, we look forward to having you there.
Crom.
Yeah, the Crom. We look forward to having you over there. Come on over. Start a 7-day free trial on Patreon. You get the VFL coverage, which I'll be doing. That'll be out on Wednesday night I'll be reviewing the player performances of a number of stars for the Cats or stars of the future for the Cats. Jai Clark had himself a very big day. We'll be talking a bit about George Stevens, Patrick Rechko. Jay Polkinghorne had himself his best start in the hoops so far. So we'll talk about all those players on the Patreon. So come on over and sign up. But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And until next time, go the mighty Cats.
Go Cats.